You're listening to the RMTV podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to RMTV episode 7. For this week's episode, we are just on audio, but rest assured, we will be in the camera very soon. Guys, how was our weekend?
Mate, it was bloody brilliant watching us beat the Broncos. Like, what else could you get out of the weekend, honestly?
It felt like Christmas in April.
I'll tell you what, yeah, it really restored the faith in the boys and shown what we're going through is, there's some pretty positive things there.
Yeah, 100%.
So, obviously, Luke and I went up to Brisbane. So, Luke, mate, you want to touch on how that was?
Oh, mate, it was unforgettable. From being on Caxton Street to going to the game, winning up there, it was amazing. Like, we were paying $5 to win the game, I think. And just every player turned up. Friday night.
Yeah, no. And Presto, you lost your Suncorp virginity.
I did, mate. Yeah, first time actually going to Brisbane and experienced the nightlife. But, yeah, Caxton Street. First time at Suncorp. And, honestly, out of non-suburban grounds, that's in my top 3. 100%.
I feel a bit left out at the moment, though, boys. I'm the only one that hasn't been up there yet. I'm the only one that hasn't gone to Suncorp.
Oh man, I'm sure you got up to Magic Round, so
yeah.
I think even it was pretty shit to see Broncos obviously score tries, but when they scored, it was so loud in there. They called it the cauldron for a reason, but yeah, no. Touching on the Roosters, mate, I think it was such a good team effort all around, from Sandon Smith to Billy Smith, and yeah, Nat Butcher. They all showed up, the lads. So
yeah, 100%, they really did. But you know what? The thing is, right? It's one of those things where it's like, overall, our game was good. Like, everyone was good. There was a couple of errors that we need to clean up because when we made errors, it seemed to be in our half, and that was what really screwed us and, gave Brisbane a chance. But if we take that out of our game, we could have dominated.
Yeah, but saying that, though, Brisbane's 2 tries only came off when we were a man down.
100%, and that's the interesting thing. Like, you think about when Smith was in the bin, and look, to be fair, Reynolds targeted that area perfectly, but Billy Smith spends 10 minutes in the bin and still scores 2 tries in the first half. What can't that man do?
Yeah, that's and it sort of goes to the faith that the club's had in him. I think he's been with us 5 years. He's only played 26, off the top of my head, 26 matches.
Yeah, close to that.
No, it was, mate, honestly, my man of the match in that game, like I said before, everyone played good, but Billy Smith, it was good to have him back in the centres, and that first try, like Reece Walsh, he was left quiet, mate. So, big shout out to Billy Smith, and it was good seeing Hugo in the halves. He just killed it. His kicking game was so strong. Big shout out to Hugo as well.
Yeah, not bad. Like, you think about it, though, Hugo's a run first half back, and we didn't really see a running game out of him, but his kicking game was awesome. But another thing I want to bring up from that game, look, we touched on the players, but I want to give Peter Goff a shout out, right? Now, I'm probably one of the first that will give it to the refs if they screw up. The game management. Now, yes, the NRL's having this massive crackdown on high tackles, and, we saw 2 sin bins. We saw Billy Smith and Gacheski go to the bin. Both of them are actually looking at grade 2, so that's a week off. But I want to give Peter Goff a shout out for his management in situations that happened in the game. So, like, obviously everyone remembers the Crichton and Reynolds. Crichton put up the bumpers, bit of contact with the throat of Reynolds. One thing I would like to add, even Darren Lockyer said that Reynolds milked that one, so thank you, Darren. I didn't expect that out of you. But the way he handled that whole situation, you got Walsh and all that in Peter Goff's ear saying, send him to the bin. He put it on a report. He gave the penalty to the Broncos. He got it sorted, and he managed it well. And then the other one I'm thinking of is the Katoni Staggs and Spencer Leniu, right? Sandon Smith dropped the ball. Staggs, gave him a bit of a shot around the head with the forearm and the elbow to the head. Spencer's probably just seen a ball on the ground and gone, hey, I'm going to make a tackle on a bloke. He's come in, everything was legal, and went from there.
Oh mate, I'll touch on Spencer, and we're going to touch on a few other things in a sec. But I think the thing I love about Spencer is just aggression and just his the intent he goes in. Obviously he went for the ball, a bit of a biff started afterwards, but he's probably the number 1 most hated person in Suncorp that night. And he probably loves it. He soaks it up. But no, yeah, shout out to Spencer. Obviously, a few things happened after the game, Spencer and Thurston. You want to touch on that, Benny?
Yeah, obviously it's dominating the news cycle at the moment, and I think that was part of the intent. This drama that's going on between Spencer and Thurston Yeah, it's dominating the news cycle at the moment, and the question I'm going to ask is if the Roosters if the Roosters lost, would this still be a topic? Would they be covering it?
Honestly, I think they would have brought it up. If we regardless, only because Spencer, they've got it in for him since last year, the Vegas incident.
Because NRL loves a bad boy, and the journos, and you've got two journos sitting in the room here at the moment. We love it. We love the drama and the sensationalism because that's clickbait. It's what gets views for us.
Well, and that's the thing. You talk about clickbait, but at the end of the day, that's been what most of it is. How quickly has that story evolved over 24 hours alone? The comments that were being made Friday night to Robbo in the press conference, then the comments that were made by James Hooper after Super Saturday, it was borderline a secondary story. So one thing I'm going to ask you boys, because, Presto, Benny, you guys are both done media, doing media, etc. I'm a bit sus on it because the only thing I saw out of that whole incident was just Channel 9. Nothing from Fox Sports. Fox Sports have obviously reported on it because they have to, but everything was Channel 9. I feel like that's a bit of a stitch up against Spencer. I understand Thurston's a Channel 9 boy and they're probably trying to protect him, but there's just too much going on from Channel 9 that makes me think that's not a bit of a stitch up, and they've sort of gone, he's obviously something's been said and now they're going after him.
Yeah, I think obviously Thurston and his colleagues at Nine, they probably thought, you know what, we'll get the cameras and we'll try and film it and see what comes out of the conversation with Robbo and Teddy in the tunnel there. But look, yeah, like you boys just touched on, a bit of a media beat up. Spencer said what he said, he apologised, and they got brought up, throughout the year. But I know shit happens and we move on. But
I think it's basically been taken out of context by the media and the NIL. So I agree, Spencer, he could have addressed it elsewhere rather than on the field. But Thurston, he approached him 2 times, and Spencer's just a straight up person. That's the way he was raised, the way he is today. And he just said to him straight out, "I'm not a fake person," and that's it. So honestly, I think it was just taken 2 out of context.
Yeah, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on here for a minute and let's go down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole. But like I said before, if the Broncos didn't win, if the Broncos got up, would this be a news discussion point in the media? And I ask, no one's talking about the fact that Reece Walsh was just absolutely outclassed by James Tedesco. No one's talking that Connor Watson put Billy Walters to shame. It is not... The story isn't a inconsistent Roosters scoring a win against the Broncos only, 6 weeks after they put 50 points on us. It's this drama with Spencer. Nobody's questioning the Broncos. Nobody's questioning their performance in the game. No one's saying, Reynolds, his kicking game was second fiddle to Savala's. There's none of that comparison. The Roosters were the better team on the night. It's this Spencer Leniu debacle.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there, Benny, because my big thing out of this is that you're right. We haven't heard anything about Reece Walsh not being the player he should have. We haven't heard anything about Billy Smith out jumping Reece Walsh on a tackle. All we've heard is, Thurston, Leniu, and that's all we've heard, nothing but. So to be able to actually, look back on the game, the media Fox Sports have given us that. They've had plenty of coverage because, it's the second time we're paying $5 and beat a team that we should have got flogged by. But they're just focusing on this. And to me, that's why I'm worried about it being a stitch-up, because that's what it feels like. I understand it's Queensland, it's Suncorp, Thurston's a god up there, but I just feel like, if the Broncos smashed us 50-12 again, we'd be screwed. Yeah,
and look, obviously one of the most respected journos in the game, in the NRL game, Buzz Rothfield, he put his 2 cents in. He went on Twitter, and he said, "Working in the media is a tough game. We've all been verbally abused and being called a F-wit. People get upset by what we write or say, like what happened to JT with Spencer. And like he said, as Buzz said, no one wants to see it happen, but it's life. If you work in the media, it's something you have to accept." And I think JT, he might come out of this and think, all right, you just got to have a bit of tough skin. Obviously, me in journalism, you're going to get feedback, you're going to cop criticism. Sometimes it's kind of just got to be one ear out the other, but Yeah, it's good to see, Buzz, he works for the Daily Telly, he's on Fox Sports, so it could be, a bit of Nine, bit of Fox, I don't know, but...
Yeah, there's always that rivalry between the two broadcast channels, and I guess what, like we've said, Channel 9's the one that's leading the story, and Fox is sort of just going, oh, it happened, but anyway, we're moving on with life.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing as well. Like, there's no secret that Nine and Brisbane are very, very close. So the fact that it's happening the way it's happening is, I think I'm backing what you're saying. But, look, I think we'll get off that subject because, there's smarter people than us that'll probably try and talk about it. But
yeah, look, I'll tell you what, finish on Spencer, mate. I just can't wait until he goes up against his old club this weekend against Penrith. It's going to be a match. Penrith, they'll be looking for a win, but I reckon Chooks, mate, they might get their back-to-back win. But
come back up.
Lukey, mate, let's touch on, go back into Suncorp. Ticket prices, game day experience, like obviously you got the drum in and then Suncorp pulled the plug on it back into the second half, mate. What happened?
Yeah, so I'll get started on the ticket prices first. So obviously we bought in the away bay. We're gonna have our banners and flags, drums, all of it on game day. And as respect to like the Broncos fans, as much as we can't stand them, we bought in the away bay just so we can all be together and away from them. But last year I went up to Suncorp, boys, and I paid I think about $15 to sit in the away bay. This year, we bought tickets when they came out. They got released, and we paid $59 each for the same bay, same ticket, adult ticket. Anyway, Thursday night, at the same stadium, I went on tickets because Penrith played Dolphins up there, and the prices, I think it was $20 a ticket to sit in the away bay if you're a Penrith supporter. So they've just put it up an enormous amount, and I'm not sure if it's because the Broncos are going good this year, because I'm pretty sure they were going good this time last year as well. So what's your thoughts on that, boys?
Look, it's, prices for stadiums are not necessarily dictated by the clubs or by the NRL. They're done by the venue and the venue owners. I believe it. I used to know the name of the owner of Suncorp, but it's a part state entity as well. So the Queensland state government own a bit of that. It's the same with like venues. New South Wales have a stake in Accor and Allianz and the like. If you cast your mind back, and some of the listeners might remember this, but back I think it was the 2012 or 2013 Origin series, Mel Meninga, still the coach of Queensland, came out and absolutely smashed the NRL over the prices of Origin tickets because it was about a $300 difference for an Origin ticket in Suncorp than it was in the same series down in New South Wales. So, we're in a cost of living crisis at the moment, and I think for a lot of us who have families, the first thing on the chopping block is, can I afford to go to the football? And we sort of go, well, and those of us with kids sort of have a look and go, well, for some reason my kids have never eaten food before. The minute they walk through the gate, and then you're up for about $200 worth of meat pies, sausage, hot dogs with sauce, Luke, and the drinks to go on top of it. So, yeah, it's certainly something the NRL has to look at if they want to keep those fans engaged and have families come along.
And that's the thing, right? You hit the nail on the head. You want families to go to the game. At the end of the day, for the rugby league to be successful, mum, dad, brother, sisters all got to go. So,
and I think if you're going to go to the game, Luke's just about to touch on this with the drum. All right. I think the atmosphere, like obviously Luke's drum in the back in the second half didn't get allowed, but we want to like the EP. You want the noise, you want the crowd. We don't want Wimbledon, mate. We don't want the tennis. So Luke, tell everyone what happened, mate. What happened with the drum?
As Preston just mentioned, we got the drum approved, and mate, it was good to go. Going down Caxton Street, fans were loving the atmosphere,
and it wasn't just the Roosters fans as well. Like the Broncos fans were getting behind
100%, mate. They loved it. Some of them asked for photos, like it's gonna be a good game tonight. Good luck. But when the game started, you just get your 2 or 3 supporters in other bays that just make a complaint. Oh, stop banging the drum, too loud. And I spoke to security. I said, we got it approved. Like, do I have to stop? And they said, no, keep it going. You're doing fine.
Yeah, because it's one of those, we've got you, the drummer. Other clubs have their leaders, their spiritual leaders, and it's part of the identity of the game, isn't it? Because you haven't been the drummer the whole time. It's been passed on to you from other people, going back to when I was a young lad, and an ankle biter in the crowd who was a drummer, It definitely wasn't you back then.
I was a little baby back then.
I
wasn't even born. But
even a thought in your parents' head, mate.
But no, so second half came, like Preston mentioned, and security came up to me and said, you got to stop. Like, we disagree with it, but there's been several complaints. So obviously I had to stop cheering the team on with the drum. But come full time, mate, we just unleashed. No one was going to stop us.
Yeah, we unleashed the drum, and we were drumming all the way from Suncorp to Caxton, mate, and people loved the drum, and then there was obviously, a few Broncos fans that didn't like the drum, and, you may have seen some things, but we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, but, okay, I'm going to ask you one question. Were the complaints and the fact they didn't like it, because look at the scoreboard, they weren't ahead. So, do you reckon maybe if the roles were reversed, they were leading on the scoreboard, they'd be okay with it?
Oh, it wouldn't bother them. If they were up like 26-10 and we were trying to beat the drum, try and get a, advantage our way, and obviously they wouldn't care. But
100%. There was no complaints in the first half when they were like pretty much in the game. And just when we put a couple tries on them, that's when the complaints came. But as I mentioned, at the end, a couple of the players came over. They were loving it, mate. Connor Watson was banging the drum, and Feketi came, Toya. They were loving the vibe.
Yeah, that was a great photo captured by the club of everybody there, and there was a lot of familiar faces in the crowd as well. Like Wayne did the trip up, and Alex as well. Not Alex, sorry, Nick. Alex is his old man. He made the trip up as well. There was a good crowd of Sydney Siders or New South Welshmen that made the run up.
Pretty sure that was actually the frame of the game from the club. That's how good that photo was. Just a lovely photo of you boys, and Connor, I think, was in it with, was that your phone, Preston?
Yeah, he had my phone, mate. It's top 3 photos of all time. Actually, it's my favourite photo of all time.
Yeah, it's got to be number
everyone
one.
was just smiling, mate. The euphoria. It was just the perfect picture, and it was, I don't know what camera he was using, but it was clear as day. All right, well, let's shit. Yeah, this
certainly wasn't a Samsung.
Nah.
Ollie for the win.
Nah. All right, anyway, we'll move into the games that was. Dolphins Penrith. I watched this with a few mates, and a Penrith mate, he wasn't too happy that they went 0-5, but yeah, we'll touch on Penrith. I think right now they're in a bit of a slump at the moment. I think, from my point of view, I think they look just drained and a bit exhausted, I think. Mate, are they exhausted from winning? Obviously not, but I think Cleary obviously is going to take time to work with Jack Cole, and he played with Blake Sluggy. But I think Luai was a big loss for him. That's what I pointed out from that.
Well, I think something that, just to punch in before you get in, Benny, something Cooper Cronk said on commentary on Thursday night. Penrith are playing the same way they've played for the last 4 to 5 years. They're doing the same thing with different people. And that's the issue, right? You're trying to, Penrith need to find that style of football. Hopefully they do it again next week. The week after, not this weekend. Because, let's be fair, I'm happy for them to go 0-6. And I'm happy for us to start and end the losing streak for them. That's fine. But, yeah, it just seems like they're trying to do the same things they've done. But you can only do that so long with different players.
Yeah, I think it's the formula that they've used is everybody's starting to see how you can beat them. And I think that started with us. I think we showed them back in round 2 how to beat the Panthers. And that was a fully strength Panthers team. And, I agree with Presto where they're missing Luai, and obviously, and when we talk about it later, the Knights-Tigers game this afternoon. But Luai, he's not the only person that is in that club. Like, he carried the Panthers a lot last year. Cleary, I think, had 11 weeks off, sunning himself around with his Matilda's girlfriend. But you still got the Australian captain, Isaiah Yeo. You've got Liam Martin, and your Origin player, another Origin player, Dylan Edwards, who's apparently the best fullback, in the comp.
Yeah, I'll just quickly touch in here. I just want to say, with Penrith, I'm not bashing on the team, but I'm just looking at them. I said to my Penrith mate, I said, it looks like they haven't been training. Like, it was just a lot of one-up stuff. They were running into each other. And yeah, like you just said, Benny, like Luai last year played a majority of the year with the team, and Cleary was out for a bit. So, and with the Dolphins, I just want to give a shout out to Jeremy Marshall-King and the Hammer, mate.
Oh, the Hammer, Hammer's thrown a curveball in my Origin selection, which is something we'll talk about next week. But he's having a blinder, isn't he? He's really putting the other two potential fullbacks for Queensland to shame in Walsh and Ponga.
Yes and no. I think, look, he's going to be in that Origin side. There's no guarantee. I think he's going to stay in the centres. And I say that respectfully because there's no way Reece Walsh or Kalen Ponga are playing centres. he's too good a player not to have in that side. So I think throwing him in the centres like he has been, because of his size and just power, it just makes sense.
Oh, well, with my team, I know we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves because it's not Easter yet, but I wouldn't have Ponga or Walsh in my... as a Queenslander, I want to have him in my team.
Mate, I'd agree with you. I'd agree with you based on their form so far this year.
Yeah, no, it's going to be tough to see who they put at fullback, but if my opinion, I reckon they'll put Ponga with Walsh's performance. Yeah.
All right, Betty, mate. Dragons Titans down at the Gong.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Obviously, the Dragons took home the chocolates for the night, but I really felt like they were lucky to do that. Statistically, the Titans had less missed tackles, less ineffective tackles, and made less errors than the Dragons. And Fafita knocked up 203 run meters, which is like a pretty for that bloke. He's a unit, and to be able to put that into the game is a lot of heart for him. But look, Leilua and Holmes, I think, had an absolute blinder for the Dragons. And AJ Brimson also did a great turnout for the Titans, and I think he's really lining up for another Origin run as well. But yeah, like I was saying, like the Dragons weren't overly impressive. I think Ilias had a really good game, and I found that Flanagan was sort of, I don't know if he's still trying to find the working combination with Ilias, but he just wasn't really taking ownership of the team and really making, he scored a try and he had a try assist, I think, but he really didn't sort of inject himself into and leave his mark on the game. Yeah, and the other thing I think I'd love to get your thoughts on it, boys, is the Brock Gray sin bin that he got sent off for a high contact in the 66th minute against Bellin. And there was no intent on it. There was absolutely no intent. It was just the physics of a contact sport that saw that contact with his head. He got 10 in the bin, which did alter the dynamic for the Titans because I think they were just getting their rhythm back after a sort of a sluggish sort of second half start. But yeah, that 10 in the bin really cost them. But yeah, should that be 10 in the bin or should they look at that? I know we've mentioned it before, but bring in the 5 minute for those sort of infractions.
Look, I think based on some of the sin bins on the weekend, so Billy Smith, Jack Gacheski, Brock Grays, even possibly Sean Kepies. Sean Kepies was a bit worse in the South game, but still, I think doing a 10-minute sin bin, the way the NRL's going after high tackles at the moment, all they're going to do is cause issues. It's going to really change games, and yeah, I think the 5-minute sin bin could be a shout just to, just for their smaller ones, because there's some of the ones that are going to the bin this week and last week, they're ridiculous. They're penalties at best.
Yeah, and I think what we talked about with Chris when he came on the show last time, where we want that gladiatorial approach. We want that, that big solid blokes running in and bashing each other. That's what we sold to the Americans with the Vegas experience. And like Chris said, you can't have on one side saying this is a rough, tough physical sport, and then on the other side saying, we need to tone it down and, really moderate a lot of the contact.
It's borderline getting into rugby union levels, isn't it? Like rugby union, pretty much any contact with the head, yellow card, you're in the bin. And it feels like the last 2 weeks, that's where the NRL's gone, is kind of towards that sort of way and that sort of focus when it comes to high tackles.
Yeah, mate, you said union. I don't watch union, but I tell you what, Suwali, he's making a lot of people tune into the Waratahs. I saw a rule the other day. That try they did, it was rugby league like.
The length of the field one?
Yeah.
Yeah, how good was that?
Mate, and just before we move from the Dragons, mate, shout out, it's a bit tongue-in-cheeky, but Christian Tupulotu, sorry if I mispronounced that. Tupulotu. Mate, he's on the bench and he's doing the give me my money try celebration. I loved it. Honestly loved it. But anyway, so we're going to move to Sharks Seagulls.
Yeah, that was obviously everybody saw that one. It was part of the double header over in Perth. I think overall there was about 31,000 people turn up for that game by the time the second game kicked off. Again, I think Sharks, it was good to see the Sharks get a win. It's been a bit long in the tooth for them. But they were quite lucky to get away with it. I don't think that was Manly. I think something, whether it's the drama with DCE or whether it's just, having to travel halfway around the world to play a game of football. I think Vegas is closer to Sydney than going to Perth. Nothing like to take a game back in time.
Yeah,
You're not
and
wrong.
with the Sharks and Seagulls, like I was watching it with Lukey, and the first half, you don't want to showcase that to an AFL city. We shall say 0-0. I think it was maybe halftime was maybe 6-0. I think, but
Yeah, it was absolutely boring. Like, Optus Stadium's hosted my beloved Springbok, take on the All Blacks. It's had some pretty big games. Like Origin over there last time or the time before, New South Wales got that amazing win, I think 2019.
Yeah, that was a huge one.
Yeah, and, so we've put some really good shows on, and then we show up with this. This is like going from watching like a Marvel movie to then watching a silent Fred Astaire movie.
I feel like the issue though, right, is it's not like it was a defensive masterclass. Like if it was a defensive masterclass, big hits, really good defensive on the line, you'd sit there and go, you know what, being 6-0 at halftime, you go, all right, yeah, there's big hits and junk like that.
It was just a lot of errors.
Yeah,
That's
exactly
what was turning it over. There was no big defensive sets within the red zone. It was just like, oh, they've knocked on. Oh, it's a forward pass.
That might have just been the theme of Optus Stadium because, like, looking at the Vermin and Cowboys now, first things first, boys. Roosters win, Rabbitohs lose, Australia wins.
100%.
That's it. Oh, and Para lose as well.
Mate,
So Luke will get into that soon. But Para can be Para. We'll talk about Para. But mate, honestly, Vermin and the Cowboys. Sorry, the Rabbitohs and the Cowboys. It shows how much South are missing at the moment because the Cowboys probably made. Well, actually, in that first half alone, there were 14 errors, and there were 25 for the game. The Cowboys made about 5 or 6 errors in that first half. Gave South good field position, and they just couldn't score. So credit to Cowboys for stepping up defensively. Reece Robson had a huge game, but sorry,
you keep going. Get going.
But honestly, the Cowboys weren't. There were moments of brilliance, but overall, I don't think the Cowboys were that good. I just don't think South could get close to them. I think both teams struggled, and I don't know if it was the heat of Perth or what it was.
I'll throw a quick question to you, Jody. Latrell on the halves. Did you rate it?
I didn't, right? There's a lot of people that are glazing him at the moment. If you don't know what glazing means, all it means is pumping his tyres up. But, look...
No, he's a setter.
Yeah, he's a setter. Look, he has the ability to play in the halves if need be. He has that long kicking game that he can do. But, like, everyone was raving about his first try assist. Honestly, mate, an under-12s kid could have scored that. It was just take 2 steps towards the line... Straight to his back rower, scores
He used to be in the halves back when he was playing junior footy, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, back with the old Tari. He'd play in the halves a bit. But look, out of that game, and I'm glad you actually made that comment about him in the halves, because coming into this weekend, and they haven't released the Daily M points for this weekend, Jai Gray is leading the Daily M's. How do you drop that guy who personally...
I wouldn't.
He has been the best player for South this year. How do you drop him or put him on the bench for Latrell to play fullback? Like, I don't know, Lukey, what's your thoughts?
Mate, as much as it was hard to see South beat us last week, Jai Gray, mate, he's killing at fullback like you said. And I wouldn't change him. I wouldn't put Latrell at fullback over him any day right now.
And look, to be fair, if you've got a centre pairing of Latrell Mitchell and Jack Whiten, you're going all right in life, I think. You're doing all right.
Benny, I'll throw you a quick question, mate. Obviously, South's coming off a loss. They're coming up against the Doggies, coming off a bye. Is Latrell just? Are they going to throw him back at fullback? Are they going to? You think they're going to go for that option?
Look, Wayne. We spoke about his credentials as a super coach a couple of weeks ago. He does have a plan. Whether they're just reacting to, Cody Walker was out. There's a few shifts there. I think he needs a bit of stability in that team, and I think that was his option by putting Latrell into the halves. I think in a big game against the Doggies, and we'll talk about that later, but no, I think he will go back to the centres.
But just on that point, actually, and on that question, right, Cody Walker's not playing next week. Jamie Humphrey's probably not playing next week. Sean Kepi not playing next week because they interviewed Walker at halftime, and he said he only just got back to light jogging. So if he's at light jogging with a hammy issue, he's not going to be playing next weekend.
Will Lewis Dodd, is he going to debut then?
Well, so the funny you mentioned that. Lewis was lined up to debut this weekend, except for one problem. He done a crusher tackle in New South Wales Cup last week. He got a 1-week suspension, so he couldn't play. So ideally, Lewis Dodd would have played 7 this week over Jaden Sullivan. So it's an interesting one. Does he pull the trigger on Lewis? I think so. And that way you can move Latrell back to the centres. Lewis Dodd can play 6. He's a left-footed kicker, left-hander, so it makes sense to slide him in there, put Latrell back in the centres because they're going to need it.
All right, we'll bounce into the next game, which was Parramatta up against Canberra up in Darwin. Thoughts on that?
So Preston and I, we were at the pub and watched it. Before I talk about the game, I just want to give a quick shout out to Simon, the Raiders drummer. He's one of the most passionate NRL fans out of all the lots of fans I know. But just want to give him a shout out. He had a major heart operation a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to say I hope he's gets better, speedy recovery soon. So yeah, big shout out to Simon. But
because of the way that they're playing, is it?
Oh mate, I'm not too sure. I didn't ask him that, but it was good to see them win. 50-12. Mate, Corey Horsburgh, I'm telling you boys now, he will be the first one picked in that Queensland team this year. He made 216 metres on Saturday night, and that was the most run metres in that game.
I think he's the best redhead to come out of Queensland since Fatty Wharton.
That's it. But before the game, I predicted, like I said to Presto, I said, Hutton Young and Sebastian Chris, they'll get over the line, and stupid Preston, we didn't put anytime try scorer on them both, which we should have, but
I put on a dog on a greyhound race and lost.
But seeing Hudson score, it was good seeing Hudson score 2 tries up in Darwin last night. But Parramatta, I'm always bashing him, but I'm gonna just give a quick shout out. Bailey Simonson, he was by far their best player last night. He just came back from an ACL injury, like 9 months recovery. And he came back, and mate, he was good to watch. Good to have him back.
Like, just a quick question, mate. You live in the Parramatta area. You've got a lot of friends and family that are involved with the club or around the community. What do you think is, everybody's used to Parramatta being, a bit shit. No offense, boys, but that's the truth of it all. But what makes this year so different? Like why are they struggling so hard? Is it the Dylan Brown signing? Is it Moses? Is it losing losing Gutho to St George?
Mate, honestly, I think they all play a big role, but I think Dylan Brown. And one thing about Dylan Brown, the last 2 games, he's been turning up. He's been turning up there. But I just feel like they just can't form. Ever since that news came out, they just haven't been turning up the same. I think
it comes down to a number of things. Changing of the guard. Obviously, Brad Arthur was there for a long time. And, Riles, he's come through. He's brought his new tactics in, his new plan. Gutho, I think that was a big loss. And, I think the Dylan Brown signing probably rattled him a bit. It's going to take him a while to, play Jason Riles rugby league football. But, I think it's going to be a rough year for Para and their fans.
Yeah, but you know what else? And this is something that confuses me. And a lot of people have given the Roosters crap about why we let Terrell May go. And look, no one really knows the answer there. But Parramatta let their player of the year go. RCG, Regan Campbell-Gillard, Origin player, gone up to Titans. He's performed reasonably well at the Titans. He's done his job, which is awesome.
Yeah, he's having a good shout up there.
Yeah, look, he's enjoying the beaches, obviously, with that glorious mustache that he has. But how do you let your player of the year from last year go? And look, no disrespect, Junior Paulo's been the heart and soul of that team for a long time, but he's getting old. He's struggling to play, 40, 50 minutes in games at the moment. RCG's pumping out 50, 60 minutes still and has the ability to do it. Why would you let him go? It just doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. But Matty Nicholson, I just want to give a quick shout out to Matty Nicholson on that Raiders game. He's played 5 matches now, and he scored 4 tries already in his 5 matches. So big shout out to him. I think he got a try last night as well. He scored a try. So amazing way to start your career, and I can't wait to see Canberra next week come up against the Titans.
Yeah, before we Yeah, well said, Luke. Before we move on to Storm Warriors, mate, I reckon you'd shout out yourself, mate. You love that word, don't you?
It's the Lebo in him. He loves to give a shout out for the shout outs, don't you?
Shout out,
Lukey?
shout out.
Mate, shout out for shout out.
Ever since I've hooked up with you guys for this show, good shout and goes hard has synced into my vernacular.
What about Yella? Has Yella stuck
Oh, not
in
yet. Like I'm just waiting for the moment where I get up in front of a moot judge in law school and go, Your Honour, yolla, and see how that goes down.
Don't worry, they probably do that a lot.
Well, yeah, if they've done a lot work out in the Western Sydney courts, maybe.
I think Benny will adapt to that Friday afternoon.
Oh yeah,
Talk about that soon.
yeah. My ethnic baptism coming up.
All right, let's dive into the game at Amy Park. Melbourne Warriors on Sunday.
Look, I said it before the start of the year. Storm will win in the premiership, and they've just proved it again. 36-0 at half time, and to be honest, I'm actually going to give the Wars a bit of a shout out. They defended really well given the score. Like, honestly, Melbourne could have put 50 on them in the first half, I reckon. They stepped up. Look, a couple tries went in. Jackson Ford, just a dumb... Jackson Ford, sorry, not Forb. Ford. Just a dumb decision. Professional foul on Pappenhausen, like... Going down the wing, I think Anderson had it going down the wing. Paps is inside. Forge just pushed him straight over. It was a no-brainer. Klein put him in the bin, and then straight after that, the floodgates opened.
Yeah, you're talking about the first half, and we're seeing this for this. I've seen this for the second time this year with the Storm. They've shut off in the second and have lost the second half. They did that in round one against Parramatta, and they did it again against the Warriors on the weekend. Is that a big concern for them?
Look, I don't think so. I think against Parramatta they shut off, and that was kind of an issue in a way. But today, look, Jerome Hughes, they're reporting it's potentially a AC joint issue he has. That's not a easy, comfortable thing. That's cortisone shots, stuff like that. So they've lost him at half time. So Tyrone Wishart's gone out to play halfback.
Yeah, because Jerome Hughes when you notice when he leaves the field, and it's the same impact that Connor Watson has for the Roosters. Like Luke was talking about that a couple of weeks ago over at Mount Smart. The minute Watson left, the dynamic of the team changed. And is that the same thing that's happening when Hughes goes off?
Yeah, but I think it's also... So I was watching Cameron Munster because I've actually enjoyed watching Munster play this year. Like, he's rejuvenated himself. He's in the best form of his career, I reckon. And he played a different game once Hughes went on. He tried to be the lead playmaker, which meant he wasn't chancing himself the way he was in the start. And he sort of pulled back. Look, Xavier Coates, huge game in that first half. Couple of, tries off. I think at half time it was 1 try, 2 try assists, 3 line breaks, 118 metres for Xavier Coates. But that was a lot off the back of Cameron Munster. In that second half, Munster wasn't doing the same job. And because he wasn't doing the same job, it just felt like they lost a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I think, getting back to what Benny was saying, I think Melbourne, they got nothing to worry about. It's kind of like you're out there, I think half-time was 30-0.
36-0.
36-0, and they're probably going, you know what? Let's just ride out the second half. And I don't know what Bellamy thinks about it. He gets almost has a heart attack when the opposition score 1 try, but,
Yeah, he did. He was fuming when they scored on the last tries, and it's like, it's not going to change the effect of the game. And that just speaks to the standard that the true super coach has.
100%. And I think that's the thing. That's, he demands success. So he would have been disappointed that they didn't put, 50 on them by the end of it. And that's 2 weeks in a row. They've come close to 50, but just missed it. But another issue out of it, boys, James Fisher-Harris, taken off after 10 minutes, pec injury, and he was straight up the tunnel. Jersey was off by the time Jackson Ford went in for the sin bin. He was iced up, and I think he's done for a few weeks by the looks of it.
And obviously, big loss that wasn't in the side as well was Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. How long's he out for still?
I think he's got another possibly 2 weeks to go, but maybe they'd be hoping to get him back next week because Chance Nickel-Cookstad failed his HIA. So he's possibly out next week, and they got the Broncos in New Zealand next week, so they're going to need it.
The Wars haven't really travelled well either. They've got a really good home record, but on the road, I think they were only 4 wins last year out of 13.
Three from 14 last year. But also one last thing on that game, because, it'd be wrong if I don't deep dive into some stat, right? That's 17 in a row for the Storm against the Warriors. Now, 17 wins in a row. So everyone's like giving the Roosters crap because it was 10 from Penrith.
I did see, this could have been in one of my dreams or nightmares, but didn't Joey John say Storm's bogey side is the Warriors, and you've just thrown 17 at me?
So the reason why people seem to think that the Storm have a bogey side in the Warriors is there's been a few games where they've gotten close. So like last year, we'll remember round 2, Xavier Coates with that amazing acrobatic try in the corner to win the game, like when it was tied. There's been a lot of close games. There's been some brutal ones. Like there was a 70-12 on Anzac Day a couple of years ago. But I kind of went a bit further on it. The record at the moment, and this is going back to 1962 to 72, St. George beat Newtown 21 times, right? 21 times in a row. So theoretically, in the next 3 years, if they play each other twice in the next 3 years, the Storm will eclipse that record if they win them all. Like, that's a big losing streak for anyone.
Come on, Waz. Come on, you can do it.
Up the Waz.
All right, we'll go to the last game. West Tigers up against Newey. At Newey, mate, I'll tell you what. Watching it, the crowd looked good up there, but, they couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, they got a big crowd up there. I think it's close to a sellout.
Yeah, it was. There was single seats only, 24 hours out. So one thing about my beloved fellow Novocastrians, we love our footy. We love showing up.
Especially on a Sunday arvo.
Oh, it was a beaut.
It was a bit of a sloppy game, but it was good. Tigers in that first half, that right edge, they dominated that right edge strong. And Bulla and Taruva, mate, they killed it there. But I was going to ask you boys, Bradman Best, he was a bit quiet today, especially in the first half. Does he just turn up for Origin, or what's your thoughts on it?
I don't know. He was quiet today. I just think the start the Tigers had, their backs and forwards, they had that mongrel, they had that dog, and the intent. They were out there to hunt heads, and like I just don't think New Year had chances. Like I think the first 20 minutes, they had no opportunities to score. And yet, Tigers had most of the ball.
And the thing with Best, right, for Best to be successful, you've got to get him early ball in good position. You don't give him early ball, you don't in that good position, he can't be as dominant as we've seen.
Yeah, and we saw a bit of that in the game, but I think the Tigers did their homework. Like, full credit to the boys. Full credit to the Titans. Yeah, full credit to the Tigers. To the Tigers, to going out there and doing their homework and sort of shutting down those opportunities that Best normally gets a hold of. Look, what Benji's been trying to do the last few years is starting to fall into place. Luai and Coruscant working together is really, creating a bit more freedom in the play. And as hard it is, and it will be a sore day for a lot of Novocastrians tomorrow. But I think, Tigers, I don't think it's so much Best was quiet. I just think the Tigers did their homework and had his number.
Yeah, Newcastle, they made a lot of errors, especially on Tigers' try line. But they kept up in the with the defense still. But Skelton got injured with half an hour to go in the second half. So I heard the commentators were saying the hamstring that he's been injured with before. So hopefully speedy recovery to him.
Yeah, Benny.
And it was good just to see a bit of Biff back into the game as well, like double sin binning there with Gagai.
So, you know what? Actually, I'm going to give Jared Sutton a little shout out there because there's a couple of commentators because I was watching on Fox and they're like, "Oh, it's probably a bit of overkill." But you know what? I don't mind that he done it, eh? Because look, the game's been pretty good. Gagai and Toa beefed up a bit. I don't know what Gagai problem was. It's not like he was in Queensland mode. Maybe he was in Queensland mode. That's why he tried to fight someone. But like. I like it. It was no nonsense. It was like, boys, you're acting like fools. Go sit down for 10 minutes, cool off, come back out, and we'll finish the game off. I liked it. Respect for doing it.
No, it was a good shout. And I very rarely say that about Sutton. But, he got on with, I think overall, like you said before about Goff in our game against the Donkeys, the refs let the football happen. They sort of only pulled the whistle out when they needed to. And, I think, it ties into that.
And look, I'm going to say something that's going to give a heart attack to pretty much everyone listening. Ashley Klein actually had a good game this week. So you know what? I'm going to say it. I feel really wrong saying it.
Are you okay? Do you need to go for a HIA?
Look, I may need to, but look, he done that this weekend. He put the whistle away. He let the game play. Yes, he pulled up those little high shots, which is what the NRL's demanding. But he's done it. I was actually happy with the refs this weekend, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think the past month, or probably the whole season, they've copped it from the media, fans. And I think this week in the refs, I'll give them a thumbs up. What do you boys reckon?
Just this week. Last week, I'm still pissed off the touch he missed that forward pass from Latrell. But just this week, I'll give him a pass. No, but I agree, Preston. They've done a good job this week.
Luke, mate, you got a very strong opinions about the refs.
Mate, all I'm saying, we're about to bring up the topic soon, but Good Friday, who knows what the refs will be like.
You've got a little soft spot for Klein now, don't you? After your trip over to the ditch?
Yeah, meeting him at a club in New Zealand.
A few espressos together.
Maybe I got that photo with him, but what was said after, I can't explain.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, let's Chooks, after their win at Suncorp, looking for back-to-back wins. They'll be at Allianz this Saturday night up against the Penrith Panthers. Guys, what do we think? What do you reckon?
Oh, look, I got to back the boys. I mean, look, the way Penrith have played, the way we played last week, and if we play like that again, I genuinely think we have a good job of doing it. I think To'o's still out. So I think we've got a good shot of beating them twice this year, and that'd be huge for us.
Yeah, I think if we just play conservative, consolidated footy like we've done against the Broncos and like we did against them in round 2, we've got a good shot. Now, we've come under a little bit of fire for some of our followers because in our tipping comp, we've actually tipped against the Roosters. But, I'm still cautiously look at the Panthers like, like when that's saying like, it's a sleeping dog. It's just it's lying there and it's going to bite you. And I've just every week I think they're going to do that. And I'm thinking the same thing again against us. Like we can't let how good we went up in Suncorp get to us.
I would like to say though, I did back them to beat the Broncos. I'll be honest. I was very hesitant about saying that because I did think the Broncos had a shot on us, but I'm glad I backed them because it made me look good at least.
Yeah.
I think boys, I'm gonna tip the Roosters this week. I know I've tipped against them the last couple of weeks, but yeah, if we play the way we did against Penrith, against Broncos, Hugo, his kicking game was amazing. I reckon we can put a good score on Penrith.
You changed your mind, Luke. This morning you said Penrith, but I think Benny, you explained it well. It's kind of like roulette. It's like I'm a big roulette guy. It's like red, and then you go red one more time, and then black hits. Will Penrith hit? Like we hope not. But
I mean, look, to be fair, we've thought they're going to do it for the last 2-3 weeks, and it just hasn't come up black for them. So hopefully it stays red.
It's that
red,
nervy
white,
feeling, but we're not favourites. We're paying $2.16 on Sportsbet. And Penrith $1.70, so like it's they're not short price. Obviously, it's
better than the $5 we were paying last time we played them.
No, no, 11.
No, it was $5.
It was a $34, which I did a little bit of Canva editing, and got a few people with that. Like the Panthers were paying 40 cents to $34 for the Roosters.
Well, so funny enough, you say $34 because after Alamotti scored that first try, we went out to $29 to win. Mate of mine threw a cheeky $10 on it. He wishes he threw 100.
So what do you reckon, lads? What's your prediction?
I'm going Roosters 1-12.
Yep.
Yeah, Chooks 1-12. I think 20-12. Yeah, 20-14 full time.
Yeah, same 1-12, and I think I might even go to Golden Point.
I hope not. I don't want a Cleary 40-metre field goal to end the win.
I'm going Roosters 13 plus.
Oh. Well, hang on. Why? I want to hear the understanding behind 13 plus. Why?
I think, Penrith, they're in all sorts at the moment, and I think Roosters, I genuinely think this. I think that the energy and passion out of that game, the way they sung that team song after Broncos, if they bring that energy down Allianz, I reckon we're going to get a really good crowd at Allianz, 30,000 plus this Saturday night. Luke's going to bang the shit out of that drum, and I tell you, I'm going 13 plus. I'm ballsy, but I'm backing it.
I love it, mate. I love it. I love the confidence.
But, the Panthers are going to put on a good show. We're the ones that started this humiliating series of defeats for them. And as much as I love giving my mate Tiano at university a bit of stick, who's a massive Panthers fan, it is, like I said before, they're going to come back hard. And I think for them, this is going to be a point of pride, trying to get a win back on the Roosters that started this debacle for them.
And a serious question for all you boys, right? Let's say we do beat them, right? Let's say we back our boys, they get up, they beat them. are we putting a line through Penrith even making finals this year? Because, I mean, 6 in a row, like, I think it's going to be hard for them to win a premiership, but you know what I mean? Like, every other club deals with injuries and still gets wins. A lot of Penrith fans, and my friend Theo, who's recently become a Penrith fan just before they started winning, aka 1920, like, she's talking about, like, the injuries that they have. Well, every other club's dealt with that and still gotten wins. Penrith have it happen, and they just can't seem to get the wins. So, you know, what's the thoughts?
I think, you know, we say it every year. The competition's so close. I reckon this year's going to be like, you're going to have like a team, like just throwing examples out there. Titans, maybe on 11th. They might be on the same points as someone on like your 8th and 9th. It might come down to point stiff. And if Penrith are throwing, they've already lost 5. If they lose this weekend, it's going to be a mountain to climb.
Well, I think as well, like, I know we're on 4 points and we're 15th, but I think theoretically, if we won at least one more of those games of those 3 that we lost that were close against the Wars, against the Rabbits, and against the Titans, like, we win one of those, we're sitting in 6th, 4th, anywhere from 4 to 6. We win all 3 of them, we're in second spot.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't put a line out of the Panthers for finals. Definitely out of the top 4. I can't see them getting in there. I think there's about 6 clubs I think will vie for those final 4 spots at the back half of the season, and I don't think the Panthers are one of them. But like I say, they're a quality side with some, you know, have a look at what Cleary did during the grand final against the Broncos. Like, he did that himself, so he's just got to be able. Like, there will be those moments that will come from him throughout this year.
Well, Joey John said last week he needs to dumb his game down, quote unquote. I'm paraphrasing it. What do you think about that, Benny?
I don't think he needs to dumb it down. I think I've had an opportunity. I'll just a little side comment. I've had the opportunity to go through the Panthers Centre of Excellence, and the mentality that that club has had, and this was before their 4-peat. This was back before COVID. The mentality that they're instilling in over there is a championship mentality, you know. And this is, we all made fun of him, but this is a byproduct of Gus Gould's in his 8th year of his 5-year plan, which, you know, coincidentally he's doing at the Doggies now.
Only 8th? I thought it got to about 10 or 12.
Yeah, it kicked on a bit. It was a bit long in the tooth, but the results paid off, and that hasn't gone. You know, that mentality is an institutional thing, and we see it in one other club, and that's the Storm. So I don't think Cleary has to dumb down his play for the new guys. I think as a playing group, they just need to sort of normalise and, move up again. And then when they find that, whether that is this year or next year, I think they'll still be a dominant side in the NRL.
Just not this weekend, please.
Yeah, by the love of God, not this weekend.
Luke, I don't know. What are your thoughts, mate? Where are you at?
Oh, just one more week. Yeah, I agree with you. But I think they'll make the 8. It's still like early days, man. And they got a couple easy games coming up, or should be after playing us this week. I think they got the Bulldogs in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's probably a loss for them, though, the way the Doggies are playing.
But I think, just Nathan Cleary, can't doubt him. I reckon he'll pick back up.
They've got a tough draw, Luke. Penrith, Manly, Broncos, Cowboys, then a bye.
So, all right. So, sorry, say that again. So, they got Manly, Cowboys.
So, they go us into Manly at home.
Yep.
Broncos at home. Cowboys up in Townsville into a bye in round 11.
Okay, so just that alone, right? So, all right. Going up to North Queensland to beat the Cowboys is a tough task for any team. Let's be fair, because the conditions are very different. So that is that's actually
but on paper though, and with the talent that's available, so not including the guys that are injured, they can still win all those 4 games.
They should have won the last 5 games. To be fair,
Absolutely.
That's the interesting part about it is they should have won. They didn't, but yeah.
All right, well let's dive into the games. All right, the first one we got at 4 Points Park, or as I call it, Brookie, and Dragons up against Manly. Manly are favourites here, even though they lost, and Dragons won. What are we thinking, guys?
Look, I'm going to back Manly, purely for the fact that it's at home. I think if the Dragons show up a little bit harder than they did against the Titans, they might give Manly a run. But, you know, Manly's a bit of sort of at all sorts at the moment. So it will be a good match. But, yeah, I think Manly 13+.
Yeah, I'm going with Dragons for the upset, boys.
Hey.
after the performance Friday night, I think they'll come out and shock them. I know it's going to be at Brookie, but I think they'll come out and put 1 to 12 on them.
You know, that's good. Let the Dragons get it out of their system before Anzac Day.
That's right. That's why I want them to win.
Funny you talk about the Dragons coming out for an upset. After the way Manly got destroyed by Melbourne, I think it was 48-24 at Four Pines, or, as traditionalists like to call it, Brookie Oval. Preston, you're spot on. I actually think Manly are going to get up, but I think it's going to be a 1 to 12 close game. I think the Dragons will push it to them, but yeah, Manly got destroyed last time at Brookvale. They're going to want to give their faithful something to be happy about because, went to Perth and didn't do too well either.
Yeah, look, I wanted to tip the Dragons for Luke's purpose for Anzac Day, but I think Manly, Thursday night, they're probably going to get a good crowd there. Next day, public holiday, so they're going to pack the hill. I'm going to go DC a field goal. I'm thinking 17-16, sorry.
Mate, last time you picked a halfback to kick a field goal, he didn't end up playing. He's been out since he hasn't played a game yet this season. So are you trying to jinx DC so he doesn't play for Manly for a bit, or what are you trying to do there, mate?
Yeah, just wait till he gets in the red, white and blue.
Just get him out of the rest of this year so he's healthy for us next year, eh?
All right, kicking on. The next game is on Good Friday and one of the great clashes of the Easter long weekend. And that's the Bulldogs take on the Vermin at, South Sydney at Accor Stadium. So it's a Bulldogs home game, so it might actually be a sellout this time. But yeah, Luke and I are going to be at that game. Should be a good
We'll be
shout.
We'll be sitting in the kennel Friday afternoon, so Benny doesn't know what he's in for, but it's going to be good.
I've seen the videos and the snaps that you send out, and obviously Tez and Emilio and Joey are going to be in there, so it's going to be a great festival of footy.
Yeah, there was some talks before that there's going to be the reports up to 70,000 people Friday afternoon.
I think so if that's true, South Sydney fans, if you're listening, all those people that are around you, it's called a crowd.
Jeez, I was going to go down a different avenue and say, what money do we put on Jared Sutton refereeing that game? Just some, what was that, 2014 flashbacks for those poor Doggies fans?
Oh, mate, it's going to be interesting. Well, my prediction for the referee, I think they're going to put Klein back in. Ooh. I think Ashley Klein will be reffing the big Good Friday clash.
Who was the ref when it was that one where Graham got sent off?
Sutton.
Or was Sutton? Oh, my God.
That's why he lives in Bulldog shadow.
Yeah, I just hope and pray that the ref just puts the whistle away, and if he does, this game will be an absolute classic. And, I think both teams, they get up for it every year. I think South's record may be a bit better on Good Friday. It's just a guess, but yeah, if they get 70,000 there, that's going to be good for the league.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be a great day for footy. Obviously, it's off the back of the Easter show as well. But look, I think Doggies are going to get it. There's just one of the things that I'm loving at the moment, with the Doggies, with the Tigers as well, is just the fan base are just so engaged in footy at the moment. They're having more fun than the players. Like, they've been literally in the doghouse for a while. They've put up with a lot of crap from fellow fans, fellow clubs, and that sort of stuff. So this is their moment, and I think it's going to be a lot of energy, and I think the Doggies will get up in the end. I think the boys have been playing just great football. And I'd say Doggies 13+.
Yeah, I think they'll win comfortably. We'll probably have to be going to the after party at Belmore afterwards, Benny.
Will it even make it to Belmore, or will the streets of Homebush just be taken over? Next thing you know, there's drums going through the Easter show. Because, look, to be honest, if the Doggies don't win 13+, I'll be a bit disappointed the way they've played this year and with the issues South are having. And respectful, I'm actually going to be respectful to South now. They're missing a lot of names. I don't think they're going to compete with the way that Dogs team's been playing this year.
Yeah, look, the punters, look, $1.34 for the Bulldogs. South's $3.27, so it speaks for itself. All right, let's go into Dolphins versus Melbourne. Ed Suncorp, Dolphins paying $4.45, Melbourne $1.21.
Yeah, I think there's, honestly, I don't see a challenger for the Storm this year. If somebody gets like that was a fluke against the Dragons. I think that was, I can't say the word. The
anomaly.
Yeah.
That's the one.
That's the one. Sorry, folks. That's just absolutely irregular. I don't think that's going to happen again. Even though the Dolphins had a good run out against the Panthers, I still think the Storm are just going to trounce at home, and I'm looking like Storm 20 plus minimum.
And just quickly to Joey Johns, if Storm has a bogey team, I reckon it could be Saints. They went down to Melbourne last year, got the win in this year, but yeah, I think Melbourne they're gonna flog them. They're gonna flog them. Dolphins had their nice win against Penrith, but can they hold it up against the boys from Melbourne?
The Storm are just too clinical at the moment. Like it's like I know we said like they took the foot off the pedal against Para and against the Wars, but it just looks like they're going by the numbers. Like this season's a training run for them. They're not breaking a sweat. They're experimenting and it's paying off, and they're just having a laugh. And I think when it gets to about August this year, that's when we're going to see the real Storm. And holy shit, if this is an indication.
And talking about Storm in August, we play them 2 times within August and September. So it's not looking good. But I think they'll win comfortably against the Dolphins. My prediction, Pappenhausen, I reckon he'll go over for a hat-trick. He didn't score any tries today, so I reckon he'll make up next week for it.
I like it, Luke, mate. And Jordan?
I tell you what, yeah, Storm 20 plus, because I think the worst thing is whoever done this draw's royally screwed us, because having to play Melbourne twice in, I think it was 6 or 7 weeks in August, that's going to be brutal because, yeah, they're going to be scary when they come to that. But speaking on Paps, you said he didn't score any tries today, but I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for him, I don't think they run up the score the way they did. He was putting himself in Origin contentions. Mate, I wouldn't be surprised to see his name for the Origin squad. The way he has played this year, and given his injuries in the past, that man's putting his name up there very quickly for that.
All right, well, we'll dive into the game at Mount Smart. Warriors versus Broncos. Warriors $3.08, Broncos $1.30. Luke, what do you reckon?
Mate, I reckon the Broncos will win easy. And as much as I like to see the Wars win, it's going to be a sold-out crowd. They've sold out the game already, I think. But I just don't think they'll get up with Fisher Harris out. Possibly Chance Nickel clocks that, and RTS, possible one or 2 weeks still to go. I reckon Broncos will just be too strong for them. I'm tipping them 13 plus. Final score prediction is 26-12.
Yeah, I think Madge going to put a few rockets up and then they'll flog Warriors. That's my prediction. I'll go 36 plays 10.
Mate, to be honest, Fisher Harris is out, more than likely. CNK is probably out. I wouldn't be surprised if they get close to 50, to be honest.
All right, let's go Titans versus Raiders. Luke, what do you reckon?
Well, that's Easter Sunday. Tino is back, so he's coming back from
What's his last name?
Famusa.
No, I don't want to say it as well.
Sorry,
But-
Tino, but he's back, so I'm keen to see how they go against the Green Machine. But I think the Green Machine, they'll be too strong. They're in their rhythm now. The way they're playing, like especially against Para on Saturday night, I reckon they'll win comfortably. So my prediction, it's going to be a big score, 40-14.
Yeah, look, I think the Raiders are going to keep that form from last week. Titans will give them a little bit of a challenge, but I think with the way the Raiders are playing at the moment, I think they'll run away with it. Their young guys have just stepped up so well. So I'm thinking, 13 plus Raiders, but I think it'll be close, but I feel like around that 60-65 mark, the Raiders will just break it open, and that'll be where they destroy them.
All right, 2 games to go, and we have Newey and Sharks back up in Newcastle.
Yeah, I think the Knights will want to salvage something after the game against the Tigers.
And the Dogs.
And the Dogs. Like I said before, I think the Sharks are sort of limping through. Haven't played 80 minutes of football all year, and I still don't count the showing against the Sea Eagles as a full game for them. So I think the Knights will get this one. And I'll probably say 1-12.
Look, I'm going to go the Sharks. Now, the reason why I'm going the Sharks, right, is a little...
You live in Cronulla?
No, look, mate, just because I live in Cronulla, because I'll tell you what, when the Sharks win, Gaimea Hotel goes off, and I have to hear it from my place. So it's the only time I ever hear that place, and it's before they all get to the vinyl room. If you've never been to the vinyl room, I recommend going once in your life. It's an experience. But look, I'll be honest with you. So thinking back to round 3 against the Titans, then round 4 they had the bye. Round 5 they played the Doggies. Newcastle didn't score a try for 165 minutes. Now they scored. Bradman Best scored in the 74th minute against the Titans. They obviously round 4 had the bye, so we don't count that week. Nothing against the Dogs. And they didn't score until there was 48 seconds left in today's game.
Do you think Ponga's not pulling his weight?
I don't know if I don't know if he's not pulling his weight or if he's trying to do too much. Because I watched a bit today and he sort of injected himself when he didn't need to. But there were times where he probably should have injected to at least decoy, but he didn't. So I just think they're out of a lot of touch at the moment. Adam O'Brien's in the hot seat. Braden Trindle's been so good for the Sharks this year. He's really run that team. So I actually think the Sharkies are going to get up probably 1-12.
Yeah. Just want to touch on AOB there for a moment. Adam O'Brien, AOB, as we call him up in the Hunter. There was an article in that Buzz Rothwell put out that a club is already engaged another head coach to come on and be in the background ahead of another coach, the incumbent coach, exiting and going over to the Super League. Do you think that's AOB, or is there another coach that's sort of under the pump? Because the only ones that I could think of would be Riles. It was Todd Payton, but the results for the Cowboys lately have turned that around.
Yeah, I mean, Adam O'Brien, he's probably the first in the hot seat at the moment. Look, Riles, yes, he's won one game just, but I don't see Parra getting rid of him this early because, they signed him to, I think, a 3-year deal. So it'd be very early to get rid of him in his career. But, yeah.
If there's a club that's going to sack someone so early, it would be Parra, though, wouldn't it?
It would be Parra.
That is aesthetically Parramatta.
Mate, it works. That's what happens when your CEO's a Manly supporter. Sorry, is it Manly or Doggies? Doggies, sorry.
Sorrentinos, big Doggies fan.
Maybe that's why they done it. They just want to give the Doggies the leg up in the rivalry.
It's an inside job, is it?
Yeah, it could be an inside job. Poor Brad Arthur.
Bit of the back in the day when it was the Bondi Belmore Bulldogs and they were a feeder club for us.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Hey, it worked. Look, I think if there's going to be a coach on the hot sheet, it's O'Brien, especially after the last couple of weeks. But I kind of feel for the guy. He's done some good things up there.
Yeah, sweet. All right, well, let's go to the last game of the round. Mate, Monday footy, Easter Monday, Tigers and Parra at CommBank. Now, Tigers paying $1.48 and Parra $2.67. What are we thinking, lads?
Mate, I'm going West. I know Parra have just come off a 50-point loss, but I don't think they're going to be doing much. I don't think their forward pack's going to outdo West's. I think West are going to win 13+. I think there will be a point in time where it's a bit close. I think the first half will be an arm wrestle, but yeah, I'm going West.
Look, I think the chances of Parra getting up, the Easter long weekend's already seen one miracle happen 2,000 years ago. I don't think we're going to see another one this weekend. So definitely the Tigers are in hot form. They're going to be bouncing off the win against the Knights. So yeah, look, I think you're lucky if Parra get over 12, but it's going to be a massive blowout for the Tigers.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you boys. I think Tigers will win comfortably, but if Parra win, we can see one positive thing out of it. If we win as well, Penrith will be coming last, so it's not all bad if Parra win.
Actually, that's what it is, right? If the Bulldogs win, they're 6-0. If we beat Penrith, they're 0-6. So maybe the Bulldogs need to keep winning so Penrith keep losing. Parra throws one more win in there. Penrith are in contention for the spoon,
When has that happened? Has a team won the premiership and then gone and got the spoon the next year?
Look, I'll come back to you next week on that. I think there's been teams close.
Melbourne, they cheated in 2010. They cheated the cap, but they were last.
Yeah, okay, look. How about I look for... I don't think it's ever happened. I do know that there's been some teams who have won the premiership and then finished like 14th, 15th. But I don't know about the spoon. So let me.
I don't think it will happen. I don't think it will happen for the Panthers. But geez, that would be interesting to find out.
It would be funny though.
Yeah, I agree with you, lads. Getting back to the Tigers, I think they're going to win, but I think Eels they're going to have a crack. I think so. I'm going to go Tigers 1-12.
And speaking of Easter, we've got a change of pace. We've got a bit of a little giveaway kindly donated by the Legal Problem Solver.
The Legal Problem Solver is Sydney's newest firm. The team brings over 25 years of experience in probate, wills, estates, conveyancing, property and commercial law. To connect with the Legal Problem Solver, follow them on LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook today.
Now, you might be saying, how can I win these beautiful hampers that we're going to show you? Well, simple. Easter also means Origin's coming up. So the boys here, we've all started to put together what we think our New South Wales and Queensland Origin teams will look like. But we figured thanks to these beautiful hampers that were donated, we're going to give you, our fans, a chance to win one. So the way you're going to do that, comment your predicted Origin lineup, and then on the next episode we'll draw it. So whether that be on YouTube, Spotify, on our socials, whatever it may be, please put down your best New South Wales and Queensland team. We will pick one New South Wales team, one Queensland team to win. Just for those who do live far away, unfortunately, due to logistics, entrance will have to be based in the Greater Sydney, Central Coast, or Newcastle area so that we can actually get you those hampers. But the winner will be announced during our next episode. So get on there, comment your teams, and we'll all go through them. And the ones we like, the two that we like best, will get a hamper.
Yeah, well said, Jordan, mate. And Penrith Roosters, mate. Luke, take it away.
Allianz Stadium, Bay 35. The Chook Pen will be there, loud and proud. And let's hope we put a scoreline on the pars.
Well said, mate. And guys, remember, like, follow, and subscribe to our platforms on Spotify and YouTube. And from all of us here at RMTV, it's bye for now.
Have a good night.